2, 1. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On Beat Off Script, a record review where we're going to be covering Daniel Avery's Tremor, which we're excited to go into a little bit. Don't know a whole lot about Daniel Avery, but I'm kind of excited to get into it. But before I do that, my name is Brandito, and I'm joined here by my co-host Mel. Mel, how are you doing?
Good.
I lost a word there entirely. I said it. It was there. But...
It was there. It's just kind of froggy. Yeah, I'm good. Excited to talk about music.
100%. Yeah, fresh music. Daniel Avery, a really interesting cat. It was like I went to the Wikipedia pages to try to find some information on Daniel Avery. There is not a whole lot to go off of there. Went to other sources trying to find more. Not a whole lot there. I don't know. Somewhere I got that they were dream pop, but if this is an album as a reflection of how Daniel Avery is, I wouldn't call it necessarily dream pop. I don't know. We're about to find out all about it here, and we're going to do it together. That's what we do here at On Beat Off Script. Let's talk about this. But for those of you who don't know Daniel Avery, fair enough. It's I was having a tough time learning myself. Daniel Avery is an English electronic music producer since 2009. Started off as a fan of guitar music and performed in bands sort of inspired by British dream pop bands like My Bloody Valentine. He ended up being a regular at a few dance music clubs before he was made into the main stand DJ at some of those clubs, which opened him up to the electronic music sphere. He was very much a DIY DJ for most of his career so far, with most of his releases being solo. He started with a cassette-only mixtape in 2012 called Divided Love. And then dropped his debut album, Drone Logic, in 2013. From there, he released his sophomore record, Song for Alpha. There really isn't a lot of information out there for him that I was trying to... I did genuinely look and try to find as much as I could, and just could not. It's not easy to write a ton about that, so if it's out there, so let's see... Maybe Daniel Avery wants to let his work speak for him. So let's dive into his work and see how well that speaks for him. But before we do that and go by track, Mel, Daniel Avery, how'd you feel before we dive into everything? How'd you feel about who Daniel Avery is and go from there?
I didn't know who they were.
Yeah, 100%. That sounds pretty much right.
I had absolutely no expectations going into this. And then my initial expectations with the first track also just still didn't make sense, and I don't
100%. It's like I don't really know where this train's going, but we're gonna take it as far as it'll take us. Which is kind of fun. So let's go ahead and listen to the opening track, Neon Pulse.
Just what a very gentle, atmospheric way to open up. Mm-hmm. I figured we were getting like a Brian and Brian Eno record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did right. I'm like, super atmospheric start for a DJ. It's not going to be your conventional dance album, which I was right about, I guess. Which is making a lot of sense. Again, this is where the dream pop. I'm like, okay, maybe this could be defined as a dream pop. I can appreciate that. It was a really pretty start, a bit oversimplistic for me. Mm-hmm. Taking on kind of an atmosphere, especially for the fact that it's kind of playing ambient music. So I was like, this is really oversimplified ambient music, but we'll see if it develops or if it just kind of sits in the spot. It does. But I was like, it's an opening track, so maybe I'll let it slide. But if the whole album is like this, we might be in for a snoozy review. Guess what? It's not like that at all.
No.
And immediately we get one of my favorite tracks on the album with Rapture in Blue, which sounds like it's making fun of Rhapsody in Blue, which is one of like my favorite jazz numbers of all time too. It's James Gershwin. I love that song. So this is Rapture in Blue, featuring Cecile Believe. Does that sound right? That doesn't sound right to me.
Wait a second.
That's what I wrote here, but it might have auto-corrected the name.
That does sound like it auto-corrected.
Right?
On, I'm pulling it up on my phone right now.
Thank you. While you're doing that, let's listen to
it's Believe.
It is?
It is Believe.
Go ahead.
We're going to be completely opposite on this, which is so fucking funny to me because it's my least, well, other than like the fucking opening, which is just boring, this was my low point.
Oh, I love this. This was so nice.
I did like, so it was a cool transition from like that ambience, and I was in a very zen spot, and I appreciated how this immediately demanded my attention. I really like that her vocals are kind of Britney coded. I was a fan of those. It was the chorus. It was the chorus I thought was so overwhelmingly loud with like the mix that it was just like, it was kind of making me stressed and not in a fun way. The second chorus, I did say eased me into it a little better, or maybe I just knew what to expect, so it wasn't as jarring for me. But I just like was instantly like, whoa, like we were so zen, and everything's so loud now, and I just wasn't expecting it.
So I will say, you're not a big EDM person.
True.
You've never been a big EDM person. This is like my perfect EDM style. I love this dream pop space EDM. Like I could listen to it forever. It excites me in incredible ways. I love this light change up into like a progressive beat. The vocals on it are really cool. This synthy overtone background on it was awesome. It's super shoegazy. I can get into it so much. I loved this track. This was dope. It was such a nice change up from the atmospheric opening and stuff like that. We're going to argue. We're going to end up with the same review, I bet you, on this album.
But we're going to have
liking exact polar opposite songs.
Yeah.
Is what's going to happen here. Because if that's the case, because I know you had already mentioned we were struggling to get the clip for the next track that you said was one of your favorites. And I was like, okay, so we're gonna be playing in completely different parks, but we're still gonna have a good time, which is kind of cool. This is similarly what happened with the Tame Impala album with Rose and I, right? Which is I think kind of a cool thing about, I guess maybe it's an EDM thing, all things considered, is just like everybody has their things that they really appreciate about certain EDM music. So going to like a festival, everybody is like, well, no, we all really like this person, even though everybody likes different songs by that same artist, which I think might be kind of a cool thing. It makes a lot of sense why the rave culture and that kind of stuff brings so many different people from so many different areas. You know what I mean? True. Like, I think that's kind of a cool thing. And I've never really necessarily been a rave culture person, but after having these conversations with like you and Rose, maybe that is kind of a big part of it. Yeah. There's kind of something by everybody for everyone, even though not everything is for everyone, you know?
Yeah.
So
I appreciate that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just kind of a cool take that I'm kind of thinking of. This is on the spot. This is not scripted. One might say it's off script. Haze. You sent it to me.
I had to send that separate.
I know you did.
I love how like grungy and dirty we got. I was like, if we're gonna be loud, this is the kind of loud that I want because it's still fucking loud. I like that we have that ambiance still happening in the background and like nice little breaks, but the switches weren't so jarring as the chorus was for me in the first one. And I just really love the juxtaposition of like pretty and dirty happening here. Like
This
it's fun.
is there's never a point in time that I feel like there's two songs back to back that sound similar. Like that is a whole thing of this whole album. It takes every 90-degree angle it can to still end up at the same point, which is kind of cool. Really interesting. Like I said, just goes straight into like this rock kind of spot. Heavy guitar, really industrial sounding drums. It's a really unique departure from the last track. You get some cool breakdowns though, where it's like really charming. You get these charming kind of asides that are not as rocky, and I appreciated those spots. Yeah, it's just EDM done like really differently. The rock approach I didn't think was really as much of a hit for me.
I loved it.
But Avery's spot with what he's doing electronically is really neat. The rock portion, honestly, for me, was just very mediocre rock. And that's kind of what drove me nuts. What made it special was his layering of the electronica to add to it all. So like,
I think that's why I didn't mind that it was like mediocre rock, because there's still so like it's still so unique with what else he's doing.
I preferred the spots where there wasn't guitars and vocals more than I preferred where there was. Oh yeah, 100%. Because the way what he's doing with the layering of the electronica and stuff like that was really cool. And then you get that super vibrating outro, which I thought was kind of cool. That's
I liked the outro a lot too.
Neat, super spacey and stuff like that. But that takes us over into A Silent Shadow. You know, it's hard for transitions based on the last two albums. Like, there's not a whole lot of like easy conversation transitions where usually I can like slide into the one.
Like funny
I was able
little...
to do it. Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
It's really difficult.
Maybe Florence will help out with that later.
Florence might. Oh, yeah, 100%. We need some pop folk types. All right, but that takes us over to A Silent Shadow featuring Bedroom, which I'm a big fan of Bedroom. So I was pretty pumped when I saw that Bedroom was going to be on this. BDRMM. I'm pretty sure that's Bedroom. I don't know how you're supposed to actually pronounce that.
I would assume so. Yeah. No surprise, this is my top 3 too. So
yeah.
Incredible transition from the last one. I loved how eerie the filtered vocals were. There was something happening in the background that reminded me of a rain stick, and I just really wanted it to be a rain stick, which I just thought was silly. Yeah, this all just felt like very cinematic. I was a big fan. I like how the outro is kind of like chimey and like let us off on like a lighter note. Yeah, I'm at this point I'm fucking sold. I like the first track confused the fuck out of me, and now I'm like fully in.
Yeah. So I like the play-in from the previous track too. You do actually get a play-in, which is kind of nice. With this really, really trappy beat, which I thought was really fun. The bass line, it was a neat aesthetic. I do appreciate it lots. I like BDRMM. Bedroom, I don't know. Again, somebody in the comments, tell me if I'm right or wrong. I've just always been reading this Bedroom. Really neat. It's sort of Tool-esque, in my opinion, but like electronic and not as technical, for lack of a better word. I know it's very technical, but like not as technical as what Tool gets to be. You know, again, yeah, it was a really neat track. The vocals are so distinctly indistinct on a really intense track, and I think it builds a lot of really cool vibes that way. Very like 90s alternative aesthetic, and I thought this is turning out to be like a really cool album. Like I'm with you on I started to get really sold on what this was going to be. That takes us over into New Life, featuring Yoon Pinku. So let's go ahead and give this one a spin.
There was a really cool push and pull happening in the beginning with like opposing soundscapes that like instantly grabbed my attention. I thought that was really, really cool. I love how like gentle her vocals were in comparison to how intense like everything else happening around her was. This is like one of the few cases where like I don't give a fuck what she's saying. I'm not paying attention to the lyrics. I just really like how everything's sounding. So yeah, I like this 100%. One too.
You get this more Prodigy-esque beat on this one, which was kind of cool. Really nice vocal from Yoon on it. The breakdowns where he adds in all of these electrical layers with this really sporadic drums is working into like a really neat 90s vibe with it. When I think British UK EDM music, this is what I want. Like straight up, it's just this really sort of kind of escapism type track with shoegaze at its core, but like a lot of these different twists and turns, like kind of track by track so far. And that's something that I'm really appreciating is I haven't gotten what I expected anytime I've moved over to a different track so far.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's cool. It shows a lot of implicit diversity. You know what I mean? So cool. And that takes us into Greasy Off the Racing Line, featuring Alison Mossart. Let's go ahead and listen to this one.
This is my favorite track.
It's actually one of mine.
I loved this. I thought I gave like instant stank face the second it started. I was obsessed with her vocals in the chorus. Like she sounds like somebody being friends with her would make me look cooler. Like, and I like how towards the back half we start to settle down a little bit, and he gives us like kind of like a false sense of security. And once she comes back in, we're just like right back in it. Big fan.
Yeah, this was a wild trap beat on this one. Again, completely different vibe from the previous track. Like there's no sitting down. Like you're gonna get something different every time. Super industrial chorus, which I liked a lot. It's dirty, it's gritty, it's messy, it's top notch. I really appreciated this a lot. I wanted more of it, and then it kind of goes into that outro, and then boom, it hits you again. And like it's just gutter hardcore EDM at its finest. It's awesome. I literally wrote down, my face is so stinky right now.
Yeah.
Like genuinely, like I'm just the whole time.
Yeah.
Just nonstop. It was great. But the way that this album will always operate is the next track's going to be nothing like that. So let's listen to Until the Moon Starts Shaking.
I really like it was like a nice little instrumental to give us room to breathe. It still felt like dark, but it was a lot less tense. But that static comes in, and I love how it's like a reminder that we aren't supposed to get too comfortable during this album.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, you thought I was done.
100%. You get the play in from the previous track into this one. The opening like reminded me of Halfway from the Gutter to the Stars by Fatboy Slim. So like I was kind of like into that. Again, another UK DJ. Like all I've been doing is talking about UK DJs that he reminds me of. Obviously, a lot of inspiration comes from a lot of different places, right? And you can kind of touch on a lot of that stuff. This did feel like an interlude. Really pretty with the strings section, and then you get this atmosphere kind of moving back and forth. And then you get this static at the end. Is it an album turning moment? We're going to find out as we get into the back half of this. I said it's jarring, and I wrote might be in a good way. I'm like, I don't know yet for sure if I'm going to appreciate that part of it. I still don't really know. It hasn't really like resonated with me yet, whether or not I appreciated that part. But either way, it takes us into our next song, which is The Ghost of Her Smile featuring Julie Dawson.
I'm really enjoying this album. I like how it was like a drum focused opening. Like it was a nice little switch up. The gentle guitars were nice to come in to back it up. I like how her vocals also were like very gentle to start, and they kind of stay that way even when the instrumentals really start to like rev up. It just makes for a cool contrast and texture for me. And that repetition of I don't want to be your friend at the end, it just felt like she's really like spiraling over this relationship. And like, I love a good spiral moment.
Yeah, I know. You have them all the time. This was my favorite album, my favorite track on the album, for sure. Okay. It was awesome. A very shoegazy vibe here, really bold, hi-fi drums penetrating through the wall of noise. I need to say tastefully, because anybody that heard my last review about Tame Impala, I told you how much I hated that because it was so distasteful. It was so rough, and it was so much more aggressive. This one, like having those drums penetrate through, made the sound proper.
Okay.
Tame Impala's was ripping the wall down as it was trying to come through, and that was like a big problem for me. It slips back into that less dirty, less grungy moment at the start of the album owned, and I kind of like that part too. Julie's really pretty vocals on this as well. You get this crashy chorus where the vocals come out like really nice in the forefront. Like the wall finally sits behind the drums in those moments, and like then makes the wall with the drums for the chorus. It's just the way that they keep bringing different layers forward and backward, I think are fantastic. They do such a good job with it. It was really wonderfully composed shoegaze, and I was a huge fan of this one. This one is unreal track.
Yeah.
Really, really happy. And then we move into Disturb Me featuring Yule, which I did mention Yule in episode 11, because that was one of my on repeats with Evangelical Girl is a Gun. So I was pumped to see Yule on this one. So let's listen to Disturb Me featuring Yule.
My first note when we started was just ew, because it was like giving ring around the rosy, but like in a good way for me, because I'm a fucking creep. Her vocals being that pretty while singing Disturb over and over again, I thought was just another great contrast between like dark and light. It's
Mhm.
like she's that little glimmer of hope trying to like break through all this uneasiness he's like creating. I really like this track too.
Yeah, so like for me, I mentioned Yule, like I mentioned, with Evangelic Girl as a Gun, which if you like this track, Mel, I recommend maybe
I should listen to that.
listen. 100%.
Yeah.
That dropped in May, because I was a huge fan of that one. That was one of my favorite albums of the year so far. You get these super industrial drums on it. It's more vocal prominent, but it's also Yule, which I was down for. It kind of rocks in like this discomfort. It's a really neat spot. Like it hits a lot of flat notes and that kind of stuff that just kind of create, like you said, kind of like that like kind of gross feeling. I feel like with Yule, you could do more with their actual vocal moments, in my opinion. He does a really good job of filling the space when Yule isn't front and center, but I kind of wished for a little bit more with this track, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
The closeout was a bit better for me. I like the way that it closed out, but like still not as much usage as I would have wanted with Yule. I really enjoy them, so like this one actually ended up kind of being, it was probably more so my preconceived notion of the track, but this was like a low point for me. It kind of was. Yeah. It really it was. I get that it was dirty and gross and haunted and everything, but like I feel like just with Yule, like you could have done something a lot more with it. Because after Evangelic Girl is a Gun, I love that album so much. I'm like, there's more. There's something else there that I think you could have taken with a direction.
Okay.
Felt like a wasted feature, in my opinion. But that's just me. Either way, we'll move on to In Keeping, Soon Will Be Dust, featuring Walter Schreifels.
What a name.
Yeah.
I feel like this isn't fair because it's like the first male vocals we've had, but I've been really, really preferring how the female vocals are contrasting because they're so sweet. I feel like he kind of gets lost for me here. I do like how hazy this track is though. Like I was a fan of the guitar a lot. But this was a low point for me and I feel bad because I just feel like it was the feature and I've just preferred the females.
You know, it starts off as a really pretty kind of shoegaze EDM spot, which I was into again, but then when the rock kicks in, this is where again it loses me because the wall of noise is really dense on this one, like really dense that you don't really get any specific part of it out of the wall.
Okay.
Which makes it really tough, especially when you have that over digital like 16-bit sound that's also coming in that background. Actually, I think it's more. I think it's the 32-bit. But either way, it's just like it's that kind of buzzing that is like worked into everything else of the wall that kind of hurt this one. And like, so I don't think it's necessarily the male vocals.
Maybe
I think it's just the whole track.
Okay.
Kind of feels a little bit, everything's that same level again. That wall of noise is too dense that you don't really get to take a whole lot out of it. Which, don't get me wrong, especially like if the idea of Daniel Avery is to create like a shoegaze inspired album, there's shoegaze fans that actually prefer it to be like that. You know what I mean? They want it to be overbearingly like that. Okay. I personally don't, so this was also a low point for me too. It's I'll be honest with you, it's one of the biggest issues that I have with like Linkin Park and that kind of stuff is just how they put together the music and how they mix things together, and so a lot of people really love it, and why I don't love as much of it is because of how aggressively that wall ends up sitting. So like, this reminded me a lot of like Linkin Park with stifled vocals. which
got it. Which
yeah,
the vocals
so,
are the best part of Linkin Park. So like,
yeah, right. So like that
Yeah.
that hurts. That brings us over to the title track, Tremor. So let's do this. There is no feature on this one, which means you can assume there is no vocals at all. And I was right. So let's listen to Tremor.
yeah, I like how it opened up very like airy and it felt very open. So when the drums came in, they were like super penetrating for me. I really appreciated that. We had that like really intense buildup happening until it like essentially like explodes, but it like fades back out again. That ebb and flow was very interesting for me. I thought that was like a cool take.
I thought this was a cool track because again, it's
Mm.
tremor, which is the idea of like, tremors is
Mhm.
shaking and earthquake, that kind of ideology. The drums have been prominent throughout this whole album, and they really come back in here for some serious love, which is awesome. You get fully just like rock guitars, but these flat organ notes. It's a really interesting track for something with no vocals, and also the title track, right?
Yeah.
I think that that's a really cool way to actually put that all together. The guitars evolve and get this crazy like feedback moment, which is also just really unique. For me, like this instrumental track, listening to all of the layers and everything as it goes and the multiple life forms it's giving, it's
Mhm.
really, really cool. And it shows off, in my opinion. I feel like the reason that this was the title track, the reason that this was a strictly instrumental, is this is Avery doing all of the things that
Mhm.
he's done on all of the other tracks on the album and being like, cool. So, like, just so you guys remember, this is my part of all of those songs. And you
Yeah.
almost get like a charcuterie board of all of the things that he's done for every other song so far on this album.
Mm.
And he was just
Yeah.
like, yeah, that just so you know, like those guitars that you really liked on that one, that was me. The drums
Yeah.
that you really liked on that one, that was me. Like all of those things, like the whole, like really with the exception of the vocals,
Yeah.
he was essentially bragging, those are me.
Mhm.
Which
Yeah.
I like. I appreciated that. I'm like, yeah, take your roses and be like, just before you give credit to other people, I'm
My
the guy that
album.
made that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All they did was sing.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, appreciate their singing on all of it. But like,
Mhm.
yeah, show off what you're doing for all of this. Because EDM, it's very easy to get lost into it and just be like, oh, but he was just a producer, essentially, right?
Mm.
This one, he's like, no, I'm not going to let you guys call me just a producer. I'm making all of this.
Yeah.
This is me doing the work. So I
Yeah.
appreciated that. And then we get a memory wrapped in paper and smoke.
Cute.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, so the static continued through from Tremor, which I thought was cool. That
Mhm.
background again was like I felt like a super like gentle soundscape, but again it like contrasted so intensely with that static that I really really appreciate.
Mhm.
And then when the static finally fades out, it's like replaced by like this like screeching pulsing sound that I thought again was a reminder like to not get comfortable in the space. This was my favorite of the instrumentals. I really, really thought this
I
was cool.
agree with you on that. Well, actually,
Yeah.
no, never mind. No, it was for sure
Because of
Tremor.
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 Trevor was sick. There's something about this that I like. I really appreciated it as like an instrumental track.
It's really hollow sounding, which is a change of pace, especially from the last couple of tracks. it's really haunting in kind of a comforting way, which is kind of nice. Like I do understand that part, and I think that's probably what you like the most about it, because you are a spooky girl. So like can I be spooky like under a blanket though? You know, like that's
my favorite way to be spooky.
Like. Yeah, right. It's another solo track, so obviously it was just ambient, but it's a really pleasant one compared to the opening, in my opinion. I do agree that this one was way better than the opening. I just think Tremor was better. Tremor was a way to show everything off.
Yeah.
It's I think that this was supposed to be the last track on the album, in my opinion. This should have been the ending. It's sort of empty, but like if you knew that this was the ending, I'd be like, cool. After the way that it opened, where it was kind of that dreamscapey, this is kind of like the more hollow ending of everything, right?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Think about the first one was spring, this is fall. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the way that I kind of like picture the two. Just as a using a metaphor. But so I think that this was supposed to be the end. Unfortunately, it's not. I feel like what's coming up next, if it was a bonus track on like a CD, and so you had to wait for it to go through 3 other tracks to then eventually get to this track, you know what I mean? Like just empty tracks, that would make more sense, because this doesn't feel like the close that A Memory Wrapped in Paper and Smoke does. So this is I Feel You featuring Art School Girlfriend, which Art School Girlfriend being a pretty big name makes it feel like maybe they recorded this together, and he's like, I'm going to make sure I put this on my next one because it is Art School Girlfriend, so I have the name attached to it all, which is why, again, it feels like kind of like the afterthought. It's like the Die With a Smile of... what's that one called? Monster?
Was it Monster?
A lot of Lady Gaga's last album.
Mayhem.
There we go. I knew it was an M. So here's I Feel You featuring Art School Girlfriend.
Actually didn't mind this as a closer at all, because I felt like the stress and the tension he was creating in the other tracks is finally being released here. And like throughout the album, he keeps giving us these like sweet little like hopeful glimmers, or like that little shine of light. And I feel like this is kind of just, we're finally like kind of coming out of that dark spot a little bit. And there's just a lot of like, it builds into something that I kind of wanted to like dance with, which I wasn't expecting. And again, like lyrically, I thought it was super repetitive, but I'm such a fan of like what's going on with the textures and like the noises that I don't give a fuck about the lyrics at all in this entire album. Like
for sure. No, I feel like this had a place somewhere on the album. I just don't think at the very end. I do think the reason that this is on this album is because he did do this with Art School Girlfriend aside from the project, and realized I want to make sure that I have Art School Girlfriend song on this album. But again, it's hard to find information about that. I can't necessarily confirm or deny, but it seems odd. I think this one was recorded differently, like in a different place than the rest of them, which is also part of it. You know what I mean? So like just a couple things that just seemed odd. But either way, like I do like this theremin-esque kind of sound that's like kicking around there. Art School Girlfriend shows up really solid here. Again, I don't dislike this song at all. I just feel like it shouldn't be the last track on the album, because I like the closing of the loop of instrumental to open, instrumental to close, and like just how everything was organized. It felt like that was such a nice ribbon. And so, or like I said, if you had a CD, rest in peace CDs, you had the CD, then this being like a bonus track. So you just leave it in, and then eventually it would end up playing this song. I'd be like, cool. I'm not mad with there's more Daniel Avery on this album. I'm just mad that it was this one to close it. I don't know if it deserved to necessarily be there.
Okay, fair.
But yeah, that's where I was at with Daniel Avery. So that takes us to the end of Tremor. Mel, how'd you feel?
So yeah, starting off with Neon Pulse, I thought that it was like a giant gotcha moment for him because that was so gentle, and this album was just not gentle. It just really threw me for a loop. For me, it got off to what I considered a rough start with Rapture and Blue. That chorus, I just like wasn't a fan on, and maybe I just need to sit with it more. Like I could potentially change my mind, but the second we transitioned to Haze, I was instantly sold. The entire album had a really cool balance of like eerie and pretty that like kept me really engaged. And this was just another album proving that apparently I really, really love shoegaze. I gave it an 8.4.
There you go. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. This was obviously my first introduction to Daniel Avery, and it was a really surprisingly pleasant one. The album was not the dream pop I expected. It was at times gritty, at times beautiful, experimental shoegaze, electronica, with these crazy moments from one space to the next. He does a magnificent job of blending from one vibe to another, really bouncing kind of all over the EDM chart, and maintaining a really specific independent shoegazy style kind of through all of it, which I thought was really cool. I can say I haven't heard anything really like it. It has rock moments, it has moments of simplicity and over complexity, it has really a lot of everything. To that credit, it does have moments of being disjointed, and from one song to the next, you can absolutely end up jarred by the adjustments of sonic accoutrements about to be presented to you. You know what I mean? So if you like one song, there will be more here, but you won't necessarily love the next song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'll be hard to find people that really love every single track all the way through, because it changes so much. You know what I mean? That earns credits, personally, in my department, more than it hurts it, because it shows actual diversity of talent, and so Avery does that in a really good way. It won't be for everyone, though, but I think its board of offerings from Avery absolutely has something for everybody. So, yeah, for me, I gave this one a 7.8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right.
What did you end up giving it? What did you say?
8.4.
8.4. Yeah.
I really liked it.
Really cool, honestly. I don't I'm not upset that we ended up diving into something a little bit more off the beaten path and ended up with that. Yeah. That was super cool.
Yeah,
I'm with you on that. But do you guys in chat agree? Do you guys please let us know? Type in the comments. Make sure you hit subscribe. That would be appreciated. That would be cool if you did that. But yeah, let us know what your thoughts are. Are we right? Are we wrong? Do you agree with me in terms of Rapture and Blue being a top-notch track, or do you agree with Mel, which is being kind of a big dummy? That's up to you. You guys go ahead and make your decision. But let us know about them. We want to hear about them. But without further ado, we appreciate you guys. My name's Brandito. I'm joined here by Mel, and this is another album review of Tremor by Daniel Avery.
Hell yeah.
By On Beat Off Script. Appreciate you guys lots. Thanks so much. We'll catch you around.
Mwah!
Adios. 3, 2, 1.